nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you start with the roll call, please?
Ms. Holtman,
Here?
Mr. Irwin,
Here.
Mr. Swashka Dalton,
Here.
Miss Mealing,
Here. Thank you. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from September?
Yep.
If so, can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions on the minutes? Okay. Did everybody get a chance to review the claims for October?
We gotta vote on it.
Oh, sorry. All in favor of approving the minutes for September, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Did everybody get a chance to review the claims for October?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the claims?
I'll make that motion.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor of approving the claims for October, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, October claims are approved. Any comments from the floor? Okay, Mike, over to you.
Minoki Prairie Trail, we have a meeting next week with the people from Burns Harbor and our consultants, because we're reviewing an agreement that National Park Service sent us. I sent it to our attorney with my comments on it before, and we're going to try and hash that out next week. But it's basically an agreement. We used to have a short agreement on future maintenance and whatnot, and they drafted the new version is like 20-something pages long. And we had some issues with the language, so we're gonna send back our comments once we get all, so it's me, Burns Harbor representatives, Tina Rogers, and then the two engineers. So we're gonna send back 4 sets of comments on one document, get that figured out. Rafi Wilkinson from National Park on that, even though he's furloughed, he still communicates with us, so we're working with him on that. So once we have that document drafted, it'll be presented to you guys to look at after our attorney reviews it also. So
Okay.
that's just coming up.
Thank
You
you.
know about it. Since the government shut down, our environmental document approval has been held up the whole time. So it got put in for 30-day public comments on September 29th, and then obviously everything shut down. So we're still stuck on that. I'm getting some of our documentation over to wetland studies and soil studies and all, and we're getting copies of those in right now. So all of this pushes everything back, so as soon as we get through all the approval process, we can put it out to bid. So the longer the government shut down, the longer this drags on, and we're stuck. We've spoken to, myself and Tina from Burns Harbor, have spoken to our representative with Next Level Trails, because there is an end date to the whole thing at end of December 31st to 26 is when the grant is actually supposed to expire, but he said that's not going to be a problem if we have any delays for government shutdown, not to worry about that, because it's a state grant, but since the federal part of it's holding us up, he said don't worry about that. Well, I'll just take that as not worry about it too much, but I'm still gonna worry about it, so that's what's going on with that. The NDOT cost share document, we got comments back from our attorney, sent them back to NDOT. There's a prepayment clause that wasn't in the agreement. We have to have them add that. I sent that to them on 24th, and they're gonna redo that document. So what it's supposed to say, but does not say, is that we put funds toward our share of that trail basically in an escrow fund, and they don't spend it until it's done. But it doesn't say that, so it has to specifically state that. And we're waiting for that to come back. We don't have it back yet. So as soon as we get that back, we'll have something to send to you.
Thank you for catching that.
So yeah, other than that, I'll wait till we get to the bottom. Yeah, that's all I got for now.
Okay, did you want to touch on the water park, or do you want to save that for later?
The water park was purchased by some local residents, and we have a meeting upcoming with them to discuss what they, actually, I guess they want to ask us what we want to do with it. So we'll have a meeting Friday, I think it is. And so that's all I know about that for now. And then what we can do, obviously, is, I've already done this, but we send that property out to different places that are looking for developers. I just need to change the contact information to whoever they want to have contacted. So that's just the east side sold. And they closed on it and they own it. And then hopefully that will help with some development. We'll
I would
see.
agree. Any questions for Mike? Any updates on the Johnson Inn?
Still in
I
probate.
have to ask.
No update.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we'll move on to old business, and talk about 2026 goals for the RDC. I know last month there was some conversation that kind of started around it and then was kind of paused until this meeting. So just want to open it up to ideas. I had sent out an email with some framework. I think some of the ideas were maybe more concrete or valid than others. But really looking to set some goals for our group going into 2026, and then in conjunction with creating our spending plan, make sure we have everything allocated where we want it to be to help achieve those goals. So maybe we can go down the line. Any ideas? No? Okay.
Nothing right now. I mean, I kind of, I like some of the stuff in the list that's already here. That's the
Okay.
thing. I think some of that stuff is well within our mark. I think some of the stuff we might want to kick up or out to the council. I don't think some of these things are directly us, perhaps, things that we can directly act on.
So what are your top three?
Probably mostly under the second one, I think. Well, maybe not. Let's see. I think the vacant properties, I think it's gonna be really hard, especially downtown, to really achieve our goals as long as we have a lot of vacant properties. It's probably the most challenging, but it feels like that's a big one. I like the work from Porter thing. I think we're well positioned for that. I don't know how we promote that or where the promotion for that should fall. And in general, I like, kind of as a giant group, all the walkability, green, even some of the events, right? This, trying to make it more of a, as it ties to the idea that you work from here, you live here, we're focusing more on this being a place to live, even though we want to bring work back. And some of those things in those sections feel like if that's where we're gonna put the focus, or at least some focus, then those would be the things that would make people want to live here. You know, we don't have the kind of budget to build a museum, maybe the Chicago Museum, for example, so what can we do? Well, we can build on what we have, right? Access to nature, green spaces, things of that nature. And those smaller, some of that smaller town community feel, things like the night markets ideas, the car show ideas, stuff like that.
I like all of those.
Well, they're mostly, it's already listed here.
On the museum note, Michael, is there any update on the possible car museum?
Yeah, the owner passed away and sold off all his cars. Yes, I have an update on that. So that went, that was a great idea, but no, didn't work out.
Do you align with any of those thoughts, or do you have other ideas you'd like to kind of bring into the mix?
No, I mean, a lot of that is good stuff to, a good starting point.
Yeah.
I've been approached by some people who feel that we should try and focus on, there's a lot of people that come here to watch trains. No, they come to Chesterton to watch trains. But if there was a way for them to watch trains down here at Wagner, which is where all the tracks come, that would bring people into town.
That's a good thought.
Yeah,
You see a lot of that here.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people who are interested in trains who have brought that up to me and asked about that. If, even like if you could put some sort of a platform. You know, we've got the bike trail over there, but I don't know if we have any property over there where we would be able to put something where they could congregate, kind of like Chesterton has that observation
Gazebo
platform.
bench area or,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like Chesterton has that observation in Thomas Centennial Park, they got that raised platform, something
The
like,
the
something like that.
property on the other side of the tracks from downtown, John Bell owns that. And he talked about that a couple years ago when we met with him, about developing that. He just purchased that, all from his family. He owns the whole thing outright now. So we could talk to John about it and see if he's still interested. He wanted to do something train themed over there. So that's an idea.
Yeah, even in that spot,
We
Just
also
across
had
the
talked
tracks
to him
there.
about moving, that piece goes from Wagner all the way over to Francis. Is building a road around there to get the trucks off Lincoln Street. So that was the discussion we had 2 years ago, I think it was. With him to try and get the trucks off the road so we can do our downtown master plan development, redo the street.
mhm.
Because we don't want to redo the street with these trucks driving up and down the street. So we can reach that again with him and see if we get anywhere with that. But I haven't talked to him since he purchased that, which has been a few weeks ago. But that is something he brought up, this train themed business over there.
Restaurant, I think. is
Restaurant,
specifically
yeah.
mentioned. Mhm.
Yeah, so I can talk to him about that.
Well, we do have a coffee roaster in town whose name is literally Trackside Coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
And he's out of his home right now, he is kinda looking for a space, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
She can probably smell it at her house, yeah.
Yeah, she probably smells like it, actually.
It smells amazing. It does. They're great.
He would actually love to locate in Porter somewhere, but
Mhm.
it's just finding a spot. Cause I've been talking to him for a while too.
and maybe there's an opportunity there to try and connect
Mhm.
The two.
those two parties.
Yeah.
And I wonder, even if it was something as simple as a platform, I wonder if that's anything the exterior facade grant program could help with too.
Maybe. As far as the vacants, we've got the barber shop, dog groomer are new. I don't know if you've been by those. Ice cream shop is under construction and moving along faster than it has been. The big empty is still Steel Barrel and Tilden's, once the fire department's out of Tilden's. So they have a realtor, Patty Raffin's the realtor, she's working on trying to find somebody for Tilden's property. This building is creeping along, so we're eventually get something in there, but just very deliberately slow.
So, just to kind of re-highlight that list, if we start with vacant properties, I think there's all support we can give, but not necessarily a financial investment that would be
Right.
needed. And probably a more strategic plan from our group on different ways to approach that.
Well, with vacant properties, we can promote like with the Steel Barrel, for example, if somebody wants to move in there, they can apply for a facade grant,
Yep.
and that might spur somebody.
Absolutely. Then we talked about night markets and car shows. I think both of those are really unique ideas and help build community and ideally bring revenue to our town if we position them in the right way. Mike, I have no idea what something like that would cost.
Car show don't really cost anything.
Yeah.
But typically, let me back a step. So we have a gentleman in town that owns a food truck that people in Porter Cove know all about. But we had him at the Porter's Perfect Pint, and he did really well there. But he's talked to me several times about doing a food truck ordinance, trying to organize food truck group. So I think the pint worked well with Brian and the extra food we had there. Burns Harbor has sort of got an ordinance put together for food truck. court, but it's just sort of in the middle of nowhere. So I talked to Brian about that and saying if we could have some sort of event at the park and have like 3-4 food trucks, some sort of food, that brings people too. So if you have a car show, basically it's just tell everybody to bring their cars. I go to some in Westville, they're just basically, and I'm purposely doing this, all the old guys with their hot rods show up and they have some food trucks and stuff over there and it's fun. I mean, I've got a couple of cars I take over there, so it's not hard to organize that, but you do want to have something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if we could rotate some people around that have different, food, that would be nice, rather than lean on the same people over and over and over, and burden them with that. But those are pretty easy to organize. There's a lot of groups that do car shows. You just get on their list and they tell everybody. So like in Westville, it's every Friday during the summer, they have at the park, they meet over there, and everybody just shows up, so it's not.
Do you think it would be possible for us to do that downtown, Porter, for the car show, so that we're, maybe bringing more revenue to the businesses
You have to have somewhere to
in
park all
Porter?
the cars, so no, it doesn't work in an urban space like that, because you can't park the cars and then everybody has to walk around. So usually you have it in open space where you have all the cars stuck in there and you walk around and look at them. So Hawthorne Park would be great.
Right.
Matter of fact, you could park the cars on the parking lot side and then have food trailers and whatever, and people can come and look at it. So I mean, I've broached some stuff with Brian, but we haven't sat and organized it.
Yeah, Brian and I have started talking
I think
about
it'd be simple to do, just communications and organization.
Yeah.
But I really want to get a food truck ordinance where we can get something put together. And the reason for that is you get an organization where all the food truck vendors are involved, and then you just bing one of them, send it out to that organization and people show up with their food trucks. LaPorte is kind of big on food trucks and trailers. There's a lot of them. They just had I don't know what it was this weekend. I was over there and they were all over the place. So I don't know what the event was, but you go to LaPorte, you'll see several different trailers, and of course Nelson's Chicken sets up somewhere. So if we could have something like that helps people. But you can't have food trucks near brick and mortar. So you can't have food trucks downtown where you have restaurants. It takes away from the restaurants. It's never a good idea. And I think that would spur bringing people, but you have to have something to eat. That's what worked really well at the Pint. Was Brian had more food this year, and it was very successful because you're drinking a lot of alcohol. You really want to get something to eat. But he could do different things at the park. We've talked. He does the movies once in a while. But we can do a lot of stuff with Hawthorne Park to bring people over. When I moved here in 2010, we had the art fair over there, which was really cool. We haven't had that for a while, so.
Yeah, Brian and I started talking
Different
about
things like that, people come for those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more people know we're here and we're not just a bump on Chesterton, they show up here. It's another town. It has something to offer. So we can build on all that stuff. We had the old walking tour. I have the documents for that. I'd like to bring that back to life and redo that. There's some typos in there. But the walking tours are nice in the summertime. We have a lot of visitors come. It's historic. I like history. There's some really cool history for the town that a lot of people don't know about, and put some little tours together so people can see what a cool place this is.
That's a great idea.
I've said this to people before, I don't know if I said it to you, but I drive around town all the time. If you walk down the street, it's a totally different experience.
Mm-hmm.
You walk to the park from here, it's like, this is cute. Look at these houses. You see stuff. You don't see that when you're driving. You're trying not to run into something when you're driving. So you're not looking off to the side. But when you walk around downtown, and Russ knows that, he lives down here, you see all this beauty, pretty houses, different houses, the trees, and it's really pretty. So people don't see that driving through town at 50 miles an hour and running stop signs. So.
and they do. Yeah, the walking thing that the museum did about a month ago, that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, there's an old historic tour. I have a copy of it, and I asked for printout, and I got it from Westchester Museum. But there's a couple of walking tours. There's 2 for Porter, and I think there was a couple for Chesterton. So I have the old document. I just like to update that and then put it back out there. And, you know, we could stick them up front, and post it, and say, hey, look at these cool houses around here. You can walk around and you could see this house was built in 18 whatever, and it was so-and-so's house and all that. And tie that back into our webpage history, which needs to be redone, so. But there's all kinds of stuff like that. There's a video on our website that I didn't know was on there about the Porter history. It's a really good video. It was made by the museum. That's fascinating. Actually, it's a very well done little video. So I just like history, so that kind of stuff's fascinating to me.
Would you mind sharing those documents? I know
Yeah,
you mentioned
I
they
am.
need to be updated, but just
Yeah.
for us to get the flavor.
There's a lot of stuff in town people don't necessarily know about. The new barber shop that's down the street, I don't know if anybody's been by that. It's where I've been getting my hair cut there, and she's wonderful. But her grandfather used to run a barber shop there. I think that's neat. That's why she's here. She was in Chesterton, and when that space became available and somebody purchased it, she wanted to move over here because that's where her grandfather was at. So now she's over here. I think that's really cool.
Can you think of anything that would work more downtown for an event? Kinds of events, or the kinds of events that generally might work in that space, given that I realize what you're saying,
Yeah.
that parking becomes a bit of an issue. And
So, you know, Michigan City's big on the art thing. They've got art. We had somewhere in here, there's a discussion about painting, you know, mural. There's a lot of those in LaPorte. But I think my question is, where would you paint it?
we
Yeah,
were
we talked
discussing,
about
yeah.
that a little bit.
So there's not a lot of places to do that, but there are some. And LaPorte's got some really cool murals downtown. They have art fair in Michigan City. So I'm not really sure what our thing would be. You know, because you don't want to copy necessarily, but
Right.
what would our thing be? We have a strange downtown. It's only half a street.
Yeah.
And then you have railroad tracks. So we have that issue. It's not like Chesterton's got a T.
Mhm.
Most places you go to, they have a more defined downtown. Ours is like half the street, and then it goes into residential, so it's different. So how do we sell that? That's what you're asking, but I'm asking
Exactly.
back. How we sell that?
How hard is it to close the street down?
Uh,
Let's say
well,
we had an
that's-
event
that's
once a month.
Basically, police and council would do that. It's not hard to do.
Okay,
So you could have a
so
party.
that could be realistic if we had a once a month kind of event where,
If you were gonna
Just in the
close
summer.
down Lincoln Street once a month with that type of consistency, I would assume that the event was an event that would bring business into, like, bring people into those businesses
Mhm.
as opposed to restricting their access, right? So
Right.
I would assume
Yep.
that we would have our businesses on that street, you know,
That-
involved in that, whatever the event is. Yeah, it's not hard, as long as the council agrees that it's an appropriate reason to close the street, then it just takes a little bit of notice, right?
Okay.
Please get out of there.
Right now, you have 2 restaurants and a bar. You've got Whistle Stop, you've got Village, you've got El Jimador. And then there's other businesses that aren't retail or restaurant or whatever, you know, so there's only really, until the ice cream shop opens, which, whenever that happens, so there's really only 3 things to draw people down there right now. That's not a lot. Cause you got bank,
we'd have to have
Union
some kind
Hall,
of event and,
closed, bar, you've got the attorney's office, there's only 3 things to draw
Mhm.
people down there.
right, that's why you'd have to have some sort of
So what
event
would
that
you
took
have?
place in
See-
the street
Yeah.
that wasn't food
So you
related,
could-
that
you
would
could
bring people
have- I
in.
mean, theoretically, you'd have music, you could have, and again, if we go into food, we'd have to have something where the restaurants would allow other food to come down there.
Mm-hmm,
And of course, we have other restaurants in town, they're just not downtown. So if we wanted to have something where the existing people were there, if you want to have food trucks or something like that, that would have to be organized with the people who are already down here, so they wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, I would think we'd skip the food trucks, because the
think,
goal
yes.
would be that we
Yeah.
would bring the community together and then
In a
bring
lot of
more
places,
business
and
to
I'll
our
just throw
town.
one out there, you got Couts, they have their, what is it called, Pork Fest?
Pork Fest.
You ever been to that? There's
No.
lots of vendors, lots of pork sandwiches. More pork sandwiches, pork chops, I mean, that's their thing, but they have all these vendors, and it's really big, actually, it's a pretty big thing. You know, it's not like we're gonna have the Brick Fest and you come down and get a brick, but if we had something where you can organize that and close off from Wagner to Francis Street, that's a nice space to work with. We just have to find places for them to park.
That was,
They could park down the street and, you know, walk down the street, it's not that far, but have to figure something out like that, and organize it. Because we can have a cool festival down there.
Mhm.
I think we could, anyway.
I think we could too.
Just have to brainstorm that.
So let's keep brainstorming that piece. And then would you be open to connecting your contact with Mike, and then Mike,
Sure.
maybe you can talk to John Bell, and we could see what we could come up with for either a train watching platform or longer term goal of a restaurant
Yeah.
or coffee shop, something along those lines. I think that was a great idea.
Yeah, I want to say something right out of the middle of the page. So walkability and connectivity enhancements, right?
I think we're doing a good job there.
I sent notes back on that. So we have, Brian Bogeyski, myself, Rob Ulrich Mellinger, we're putting together a master plan trail thing. We have had a meeting with Chesterton. There's a project out, Lilly Grant has a project, the project's called Thrive, but there's Lilly Grant money in it. And it's a trail project with $20 million. We get a little piece of it, and we're trying to figure out what to spend that on, or have them spend it on, I should say. So we really need a connection to Chesterton. So we have some trails, and we have the Porter Brickyard Trail, and it comes down Lincoln Street, and then it just kind of goes, fiddles out on Lincoln Street. There's no signage, doesn't tell you to go across the tracks and jump on the Prairie Duneland Trail. There's a magic dotted line there somewhere, but no signage. And there's no safe way to cross all the railroad tracks. So we have had meetings for this for a year, we're still having meetings on it. But what we want to do is get pedestrian crossings across the tracks. And at this point, we think the best solution is Jackson Street, Wagner Jackson, just because of the spacing. And there's 3 sets of tracks you have to cross. And there is a crossing on Mineral Springs Road where Porter Brickyard Trail dumps off onto the Cal Trail. That's new, if you haven't seen that. It's actual pedestrian crossing, so it's like a mini gate for the people to walk across the track, not a car. That's what we want, all the way across the track, so we have safe pedestrian crossings all the way across. And they go next to the big gate. You get a little gate, you get a trail. So we have to work with 3 sets of railroad tracks, which is 3 different entities, one of which is Amtrak. Amtrak takes 2 years to do anything. It's federal. So that's something we're communicating with now and trying to figure out how to fix, so that we have a clear way to get to Chesterton and connect to their trails. The Y is supposed to be a community, it's a Duneland Y. So the Y is Chesterton, Porter, Dune Acres, Burns Harbor, it's everybody. So how do you get there from Burns Harbor? Well, you come along that trail that we have that we're working on, Minoki Prairie, connects to Porter Brickyard Trail, you come down Lincoln Street and it dies out again. So we need to get across there so that people from Burns Harbor can come over to the Y. That's what we're working on. So there's all that's going on, it's bubbling around. It's funding is the issue. So state took all the funding out from Next Level Trails. For whatever reason, they removed all the funding. Don't know why. Recently, we've had our president say he doesn't want to fund any trails. Oh, that's lovely. So, you know, we're having a hard time finding money. So Lilly Grant is money from private donations, whatever you want to call it, private charitable organizations. So there's a little bit there. I'm just trying to figure out how much we can use and get to somewhere. We had our flap grant project that goes from downtown to Porter Beach. Well, the price tag on that, in case you didn't see it, was $33 million. And I did plant a money tree in the back, but it hasn't grown yet, so maybe the seeds are bad. But, you know, $33 million is a lot of money. So we're chipping away at all that stuff, but the master plan that we're working on in-house, at least we can say, here's where we're trying to connect. So one trail will go all the way down Lincoln, tie the Orchard Trail and Porter Brickyard. That's part of the downtown master plan. Then we gotta get across the tracks and bring all that stuff together. So the more connectivity you have, the more people can walk here or ride their bike. And then the track barrier disappears. So a lot of people run into the barrier coming across the tracks to the north. Why do I want to go to Porter? Well, I gotta cross all these tracks, you know. It's tough, but we're working all that stuff, trying to connect stuff together, so.
How much money's available in that Lilly grant? Do we know?
There's 20 million available. We think we get 1 or 2 million, but we're still trying to figure it out. We have a meeting coming up in a couple weeks to talk about that. 1 or 2 million doesn't go very far. But we'll see how that works.
What kind of contractors do we work with to build trails?
Well, usually, you put out the bid, so it could be a paving company like Milestone Reith Riley. It could be some sort of general construction company. Depends on, you know, who bids on it, basically. So when we put this out to bid, I'm going to be excited to see who did it. I can't remember who did. I think it was one of the big paving guys that did Cal Trail, but I can't remember. There's different contractors that work on different things, so we'll see when we bid it. But the Minoki Prairie, I'm gonna say it's pretty simple. I don't know if you've been to Minoki Prairie. It's this, pave it across and tie into the other trail. There's a retaining wall there, but most of it's basically pretty simple paving, running through a field, so. Burns Harbor section is a little more complicated, and they're bidding that separate, so. When that's done, it'll connect us to Burns Harbor, and you can go quite a ways to the west with the trails they already built. You can get over to, you know, Porter Beach and everything, so. The Cal Trail that the Porter County finished is beautiful. That turned out really nice. They applied for a FLAP grant for the piece that goes east through Beverly Shores. So we just sent them a letter of support on that. But we're, you know, if everything gets connected together, the whole goal being you're not in a car. Try and get people out of their cars. So one of the biggest problems in this area is freight. I mean, if you want to embrace what we have here, we have trains, we got trucks. That's not really popular. So, you know, the reason we have our air pollution issues here is we have a lot of trains, we have a lot of trucks, and we have mills. So you've got that issue going on. So a lot of freight goes through here every day. And next, you know, you see trains all the time, and you see trucks. That's a lot of stuff going back and forth through Indiana every day to who knows where. So you have to work with it. And like Russ said, a lot of people like trains. They want to see the trains. That's neat. If you like trains, I like old cars. You know, train to me, it's another train. But a lot of people, that's their old car thing. They like to see the old trains. So, you know, we've got some railroad specific things in Chesterton. We don't really have any over here, so it wouldn't hurt. Put something like that in.
Especially if long-term we're trying to get those pedestrian crossings.
Yeah.
Then having something there, right, it all comes
Something
together.
safe, yeah.
So I appreciate the brainstorming
Long-winded
session.
answer to that, but yeah.
No, it was helpful. I think we have a lot of good ideas here. Trying to keep an eye on the clock, and we also want to work through our 2026 budget. So I wanted to start with a brainstorming session and some goals for next year. Because if there's finances tied to those, we need to make sure we incorporate that
Right.
in our budget. So with that, we'll shift to the spending plan. Did everybody get a chance to review the 2025 or the current spending plan that was emailed out?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like we did a good job of this last year. And my general opinion would be to keep everything in here that we have currently for next year, and then make additions as needed. I mean, obviously, signage we're done with, right? I know we approved,
They're approved,
but I'll need that funding for next
not
year.
built, and not installed. The last sign for this year, I hammered out an MOU with Porter County yesterday that the attorney just reviewed and sent back this afternoon. And then we'll get that at the next council meeting, get that approved, send it to the commissioners, get it signed, we can install the sign over at NICB. So that's the last sign. So they haven't billed us for 2 signs, that one and the one on 49 at Tremont. They were holding off until they install the second one. So we'll pay for that out of this year's money. And then all the other ones they have to build and install that were on what you guys approved last time. Those will be next year.
And that would be that roughly, I think it was at about 40 or something like that?
43 and some
40
change.
yeah, okay.
It's 43,115.53 to be exact. So Corinne, then we would be safe to put that 43,115 and 53 cents in signage.
For next year?
For next year.
You don't think those are gonna get done? Just, no?
Mm-mm.
Okay, then yeah, we'll have to put it next year.
I don't know how far they're gonna get on it, but they're not gonna get that done that fast. We can find out how much they might finish and move to next year, but.
Marquette Greenway, we had 368.
Was that?
For Marquette Greenway, we had 368,000.
Yeah, was that for this year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we
2025.
pretty much.
Did we
what
spend it?
Spending before then, yeah.
Okay. Do we need anything there for next year, or will that then be,
Well, next year will be the rest of our match plus the construction, which is the grant, 2 million, for that total.
What would our match be on that, then the rest of
Our match was 520,
So like 160
so the
or so,
total, the
155?
total is like 2,597,000, so the grant's 2,077, and our match was 520, but of course we haven't bid it yet, so let's see what happens when we bid it.
Okay.
do you think we're safe to dedicate 520, or should we dedicate something a little bit higher
No,
so that we have the funding to use if,
good question,
right? Well, because the way the budget is set now, right,
yeah.
I think that's all we have to allocate. And so if there is a little bit of margin for error and we should round that up to 550, we don't lose it if we don't
Yeah.
use it, but then we're
Our
covered.
original budget for that project has a 20% contingency in it. So I'm hoping that covers 2 years of going through the process. I don't know. That's a good question, though.
Yeah, I'll have to look at what we have remaining on SEH's contract
Yeah.
and discuss what we think is gonna get paid for the rest of this year,
'Cause
less the match.
the way
and
Next Level
factor in.
Trails works is a little different than, they're all different. But basically theirs is you spend your match first,
Okay.
and then they'll kick in the next part, so the 520 gets spent first. Before it's all spent, we should have it bid. So then we'll have an actual contract and see what the construction costs are. But
Yeah.
that keeps moving with the shutdown.
If we don't include enough in the spending plan, then you'll have to amend the
Modify
spending
it.
plan
Yeah.
and update it, so.
Well, that 520 included, 20% contingency 2 years ago, and we turned it in, so. It's a hard question to answer. I know some of the design changes we made saved a few bucks, so we're just hoping that still works.
Okay. Then we had 25,000 dedicated to park and other equipment. I know the whole group was in here, but I would assume that we would want to keep that there
Yeah.
for 2026.
So,
We had dedicated $10,000 to ESC capital projects, and then 10,000 for other general improvements. That seemed to service us well in 2025.
anything we're talking about gonna really impact that? A lot of what we're talking about, I don't think necessarily does.
As far as our brainstorming and goals
Yeah,
go.
is there anything that would really change that?
Well, and that's where maybe we take other general improvements up to 15.
Yeah,
that-
maybe. That's-
As we expand into some of these ideas,
Yeah, because some of
we
these
have a
things,
little more allotted if we need it.
Yeah, sign, a little more signage for wayfinding potentially, few more repairs or improvements like that here and there. It's a place what we own, we can drop in maybe some planters or something to put, I mean, you know, something we can improve for a green space, maybe we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we have 25,000 dedicated to the facade grant. That wasn't used this year, but that facade grant is now formally
Yep.
out there with the DEDC.
Yeah, and I already talked to Corinne about this. We should move that up to a different line item because we're actually contributing to a nonprofit for that.
Ah,
And the other thing is, do we want to round that to a even 30? Since it goes up to 10,000 each, and then we'd be able to do 3
I agree with that.
instead of 2.5.
yeah, that would be, that probably makes more sense. And you're saying it probably should be under the 2 local nonprofit line or something perhaps?
Yes,
Okay.
mostly for transparency purposes.
Yep, no, I get that.
Okay, then we had our bucket for professional expenses. Corinne, do you have any thoughts on, might we see a 5-10% increase there? Do we expect that to stay consistent with this year?
I would probably add about 5%-ish to
Okay.
everything. I mean, it's hard to know exactly what that stuff's gonna cost.
That would seem to be in line.
We had a really big line for engineering. Is that typical or is that because tied to something specific?
That's for the projects we're working on.
Okay. Will we likely need something like that next year again, Mike? 650, I think was on there this year. Let's have to answer now.
Only if we, I mean, if, it just depends on what breaks free, but it's just, you know, we hire somebody that's gonna be for a project, so right now, we've done some studies, but we don't have anything ready to pull the trigger on as far as the project goes.
Yeah, but if it's-
Maybe I should have started with that too. So when we set our budget, you don't have to use the funds you allocate,
Right.
but if you don't have funds allocated to that area, then technically you don't have
No, I know what
any
you-
money to spend. So some of it is planning for what could be,
Yep.
so that if it doesn't arise, we're allocated correctly.
Yeah, and that engineering number was inflated a little bit too to help cover the Market Greenway costs. Or, yeah,
Well, I
Market,
mean, if
next level trails.
if
right?
we think we need it, that's, if we think we might be able to use that or we want to allocate that.
What's the number that's in there?
We had 650 for
50.
this year.
Oh.
We don't, we're working on next year, so.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
If that seems reasonable and possible, I don't
Yeah.
want to shoot it down, but if it was like, if you can't picture spending more than half that, then let's maybe modify that a bit.
Yeah, I'd leave it in there. But if we start working on another project, we need engineering.
Okay.
Fees, yeah.
Okay,
If we don't spend it, we don't spend it.
yep.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we have to spend it. Just means it needs to be in there.
Then we had the 40,000 for fire. I know I was not able to make last month's meeting, but it sounded like that was really impactful for the Porter Fire Department. I personally would propose leaving that in,
I would agree with that.
okay? And then I think we go all the way down to, and then we have proceeds of bonds. I don't see that number changing.
Yeah, you've got that much sitting in an account, in
Yeah.
a fund that never got spent from the last bond.
So again, I feel like we did a pretty good job of this last year. And this gives us a nice framework to work with for this year. So I will get a draft of this with the updates we just discussed over to Karen and Corinne. And then Karen can send it out to the group, because next month the goal will be to approve this so that we're set for 2026.
Really quick, my memory of the discussion from, for the volunteer fire stuff was, or the fire expense, I should say, was that, they kind of want to do maybe a little bit more, was I think what they were leaning towards. Is that your
Okay.
memory too, of it as well, Russ? Did it feel like there was maybe a desire to want to expand it a bit, or am I
Well,
misremembering that?
The $40,000 is enough to cover all the wages and the
Yep.
taxes. There's other expenses that are incurred by the fire department, uniforms, gear for the firefighters, workman's comp insurance, which the incorporation was paying that. I'm sure Jay would appreciate any additional monies that he could get for the program. But he was able to do the entire time he
Okay.
wanted to do the program with the 40,000.
Okay. And he didn't suggest that we would need more for next year for the same part of the program, only we would want to perhaps, to your point, offset some of those other things perhaps. We don't
Yeah,
know.
unless he wanted to offer a little bit more
Yep.
money to him.
I guess that's what, yeah.
Because I believe there was actually, I don't think we spent the full 40,000. I don't know if you have,
Not quite. There is some left over. We still
Okay.
don't know what the workers' comp is gonna be, but just a quick correction to what you said. The Incorp wasn't paying those costs, the town was
Town
paying
was,
those
okay.
costs.
Okay.
right? So the Incorp is the volunteer fire corporation.
Can RDC funds be used for those types of things, like uniforms and workman's comp?
For fire operating and capital expenditures, yes.
Okay.
That law changed a couple of years ago.
Where do you think we ended up? Like 35?
Roughly, I think it was
Yeah.
30, there was six to,
Well, maybe 40 is not
yeah,
that big.
6,500 or so left over, but
Okay.
yeah, if we approve more and we don't spend it, that's not a big deal.
Yep.
But if the 40 gives a $5,000 buffer, then that may be enough, and it's probably worth reaching out and letting them know they have some excess funding available in case they want to use that this year on uniforms or things of that nature.
yeah. I mean, I would just ask when you approve that you specify exactly what those funds are being used for, right?
And we can do that.
Yeah, because when we did it for this year, it was for the wages of the part-time firefighters.
Okay. So does that sound like a good starting path for the spending plan? That we
Yep.
can share
Yep.
and get out to the group?
Since Jay is here, um,
Perfect timing.
we're currently, we're talking about you. We have a little bit, we have about $4,000-ish left over that we didn't, from what we allocated for you for this year for the firefighters.
Okay.
Do you think that we should increase it for next year from 40,000?
If at all possible, so kind of, I haven't looked at last year or next year's schedule yet. We kind of ran really short. Our days ran a little short because the way the first Monday fell, like on the first, so we didn't have that week. I don't know that we could have pushed it much longer. Having some left over for the holiday weekends, the Memorial Days, the Labor Day weekends, could be useful, and also maybe even some for Fire Prevention Week that would help with bringing people down, to help when the kids are visiting the school and stuff, making sure that I have the people that, they generally have pretty good turnout from volunteers on those weeks, but it's always nice to have a little bit. And having a truck in service, so then we don't have to not show up for the kids if a call comes in while we're have planned visits.
And I know you mentioned also about other expenses such as uniforms and that.
Yes.
Some of that, as long as we spell out what we're doing, can be included in that.
So the only cost, and actually, I don't know if they ever sent me a bill, I need to follow up on that, was t-shirts. We went away t-shirts, I think it's like $10 a t-shirt, so there was like $150 to $200 that they never billed me for, I need to follow up. But it would be nice to do t-shirts and sweatshirts, because there was some time, and I'm not one for required to wear a uniform, we gotta buy it on your own type thing when we're, and that's usually the volunteers always purchase money for the volunteer firefighters to have, or purchase sweatshirts and stuff for the volunteers at times, so. Just little stuff like that, is useful, but the main part is as greedy as it sounds, as much money as I can get to work people as much as I can, especially the holiday weekends and the weeks, obviously very beneficial and made a difference in the community during that time.
Okay. I think it was last year, we were talking about uniforms, and there was grants available to you, but the grant hadn't come in yet, so we didn't know.
So that's the bunker gear stuff, that's actually some of the
Yeah.
stuff that's on the council. So we were able to, find gear for all of the people that did, the part-time stuff. We didn't have to do any expired stuff. Everything was up to date, good, fitting properly. We're actually gonna talk tonight about hopefully where we can, the 2023 grant finally got all of that information. So that will be hopefully coming through. And we'll get all that taken care of, and that'll bring some more sets. But that is, we're talking, the updated pricing I just got like an hour before the meeting is like $4,200 a person, so.
Okay,
But that is also on that list of things that we also need for our volunteers. That's not on the part-time side of things, and we're always striving for that, trying different grants and such. It's just a struggle with the one grant that we relied on kind of slowed down because of funding, so.
So if we increased it to say 45,000 and stipulated in there $300 for t-shirts and sweatshirts, would that be sufficient?
I would, look, can we say 400?
Sure.
Just because the sweatshirt's gonna be about $20,
Yeah,
so you're looking at least $200 in sweatshirts for 10 people.
it's just a guide for what we might spend.
Right.
So as long as if we go higher, that's better than going.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, so, 400, 500 for additional PPE if needed, that would be beneficial, and then, yeah, if we have anything additional for extra days, because it was really weird how this year worked out, it was kind of, the time started a little late with the way the last Monday fell, and then the way the first Monday fell, I feel like it was a shorter period than the months would have aligned different. And I haven't looked at next year's calendar yet, so to know if it's how much different it's gonna be.
we'll finalize the budget, next month, but if you maybe want to reach out via email between now and then with what the calendar looks like and what you think your needs are.
Definitely, because
That's
I
where
think
best to oblige.
if I understood from Corinne properly, we kind of hit right almost on the nose with this year, correct?
It was a little under, yeah.
There's
Yeah, a little
about
under.
$4 or $5 grand left.
Okay, and that was the hard part to figure out, because knowing what our contribution to the taxes and everything was, that's wasn't a super easy thing for me to,
Oh, absolutely,
so.
absolutely. Thank
Yeah,
you.
perfect,
Your timing is
yeah.
perfect.
Guess I'll take forever.
Okay, so does everybody feel comfortable with the starting point for the budget? And we can finalize that ideally next month?
Yes.
Okay, then we will move on to new business, which I don't believe we have any of.
That is the new.
That was, yeah.
That was the new business, yep. Any commission comments?
The only thing I have is to remind everybody to go vote. Voting day is next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Only thing on the ballot is the Doolin referendum.
Thank you. And the only thing I'd like to add is that the exterior facade grant is officially available. The press release was released, so let's get the word out in our town so that businesses know it's available and accessible to them.
There's a link on the chamber's site to access it.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.